The envelope didn't have any weight to it, just a flimsy windowed thing, the kind you don't even need to tear, just slide a finger under the lip and pull. But the address on it wasn't quite right. My name was sure, but I hadn't lived at this apartment in over 6 years, and the postmark said it had been forwarded twice. It was a Monday morning, not a dramatic one. My coffee was lukewarm. The window was cracked open just enough to let the chill in, and I'd been sitting on hold with the utility company for almost 40 minutes. The envelope came from a stack of mail my dad dropped off the night before, swearing it had all just shown up at the old house. "It's probably junk," he'd said, already halfway back down the porch steps. It wasn't junk. Inside was a notice from a collections agency. A $14,782 balance on a personal loan from a bank I'd never used. The statement said I'd missed 4 payments. 4. It listed an account number I didn't recognize and a phone number to call if I wanted to settle today and avoid further action. I stared at it longer than I should have. My dog, Ramai, bumped her nose against my knee like she knew something was off. She always does that, nudges me right when the floor feels like it's moving under my feet. Here's the thing, I've never taken out a personal loan, not in my name, not as a cosigner, nothing. I've got one credit card, a used truck I paid off early, and I've been renting the same 2-bedroom with my fiancé for 3 years. I'm boring, financially speaking, deliberately so. And yet here was this statement. From a bank in Oregon. I live in Illinois. I called the number. They asked for the last 4 of my social security number. I gave it. The woman on the phone read back a birth date, mine, an address I hadn't lived at in over a decade, my parents' old place. And then she said, "According to our records, Mr. Warren, this loan was approved 11 months ago. Payments stopped in March." March, that's when my brother disappeared again. Let me back up. My brother's name is Calvin, older by 4 years. He used to be the charming one, the one people said had big potential. Varsity soccer, good with people, quick with excuses. The kind of guy who could convince a teacher to bump a grade or charm a cop out of a ticket. Meanwhile, I was the quiet one, the good kid, the one who got compared to him whether I liked it or not. When we were younger, Calvin used to borrow my bike without asking. Then it was my clothes. Later, it was my car. He was always borrowing, but somehow I was always the one who got blamed when things went missing or came back broken. My parents would say, "He's going through something," and I'd be told to let it go. We stopped talking regularly about 5 years ago. No big blow-up, no massive betrayal, just a slow erosion. He'd get clean, then vanish. He'd call from a new number, ask for a little help, promise he was almost back on track, then nothing for 6 months. Rinse, repeat. The last time I saw him was the week after my engagement party. He didn't show up to the party itself, but 3 days later he rang my doorbell like nothing had happened, asked if I had $20 and maybe a spare phone charger. I gave him the cash and an old charger. He hugged me like we were still brothers, then he left. That was the end of March. Now here I was in August, holding a notice for a loan I'd never taken, issued right before he dropped off the map. And it was in my name. I didn't want to panic, I really didn't. But when I checked my credit report, my stomach dropped. There were 3 open accounts I didn't recognize. 2 personal loans. 1 department store card. All opened within the last 14 months. All with my name, my social, my birth date. The most recent loan had already defaulted. The store card had a $1,400 balance. I felt like I was choking. I clicked through pages like I was peeling off skin, one by one, realizing just how deep this ran. Whoever did this had answers to security questions only a family member would know: where I went to elementary school, the name of our childhood dog, the street I grew up on. This wasn't a stranger. And Calvin had done this kind of thing before, not to me, but close. He used to scam old classmates on Facebook, borrow money under fake names, then disappear. Once, he opened a Netflix account under our cousin's name. Another time, he convinced a girl he was in love with her just to crash at her place for a month rent-free. But this was stealing my future. I called my fiancée, Erin, at work. She answered on the 3rd ring. "Hey babe, what's up?" I didn't even say hello. Did we ever get any weird letters in the mail, like from banks or collections or anything? There was a pause. No, I don't think so. Why? I just found out someone opened loans in my name, like big ones. Silence again, then wait, what, are you serious? I'm looking at them right now. Who would do that? I didn't say his name right away. She guessed it anyway, Calvin. I sighed, I don't know for sure, but it lines up. She was quiet for a long time, then she said, okay, we'll figure it out. Come by my office if you want, we can go over everything. I didn't go to her office, I went to my parents' house. They live in a one-story ranch on the edge of town, same one we grew up in. The porch light still flickers when it's cold. The inside smells like lemon cleaner and burnt toast. My mom was in the kitchen drying her hands on a dish towel when I walked in. Hey honey, what a surprise. I held up the envelope. Her smile faded. Where did you get that? You gave it to Dad, he dropped it off. She looked at the return address, then at me. Do you want some tea? Mom. She turned back toward the kettle anyway, it's chilly out. I didn't sit. Did Calvin use my name to get loans? She didn't answer. I'm serious. The kettle clinked against the burner. Then she said he promised it was temporary, he said he'd fix it. My chest went cold. So you knew? I didn't know, she said quickly. Not really. He just said he was in a tight spot and needed a cosigner. I thought maybe you'd helped him. I never even knew about it. Well, then he must have done it himself, but he said he'd make the payments, he swore he would. I sat down, my legs didn't want to hold me anymore. You let him use my identity. I didn't let him, she said, voice sharp. I didn't even see what he was doing. He used the computer while I was in the other room. He wrote down numbers from your old tax forms. I thought he was filling out job applications. I buried my face in my hands. She kept talking. He said he just needed a little breathing room just to get through a rough patch. That's why the mail started coming again. He said you were staying with us again just for a while, he said. I stood up. Where is he now? I don't know, she whispered. You're sure? She looked like she wanted to lie, then she just shook her head. I haven't heard from him in months. I left without finishing the tea. Called Aaron again from the truck. I was right, I said, it was him. Oh my God. And my mom knew, sort of. She didn't stop him. Are you okay? No, but I need to figure out what to do next. What can we do? I don't know yet, I said, but I'm going to find him. The inside of my truck smelled like dog hair, stale fries, and the bitter rubber of old floor mats. I just sat there for a while with the driver's side door cracked, staring at the quiet curve of my parents' cul-de-sac, the same stretch where Calvin taught me to ride a bike. The same place he once ran over my skateboard and blamed a neighbor. I checked my phone, no texts, no voicemails, just the credit report still open on my screen like a wound that wouldn't scab over. 3 accounts, 2 in collections, 1 still active. The newest one, the store card, was last used 2 weeks ago in Peoria. That was only 2 hours south. I pulled up my banking app. I'd never been to that store in my life, never had a reason to. But the charge was for a men's winter coat, work boots, and a prepaid phone. He was preparing for something, or preparing to vanish again. I drove home in silence. Ramai barked once when I came through the door, then trotted over with her tail low like she could tell I wasn't okay. Erin got home an hour later. She didn't say anything at first, just wrapped her arms around me and held on. We stayed like that a long time. Eventually, she pulled back and asked, "Are you going to report it?" I think I have to. What happens if you do? I end up owing 15 grand for a guy who doesn't even send birthday cards. We sat down at the kitchen table and I laid it all out. Everything I found on the credit report, the statement, what my mom said, the way Calvin had just disappeared. He used my name, I said, my social, he changed my address, he's pretending to be me. Aaron looked tired. If you report it, you know what that means, right? Yeah. He'll have a record. He already does, I muttered. That's probably why he used mine. We both went quiet. The next morning, I filed an identity theft report. I called the banks, flagged the accounts, froze my credit. Filed a police report like the FTC site said. They asked if I had any idea who the culprit was. I gave them his name. I hated how easy it was to say it. The officer I spoke to, Detective Garner, was kind but blunt. Unfortunately, this kind of thing happens a lot with family members, she said. He probably figured it wouldn't come back to bite him. Most people don't file when it's someone they know. I'm not most people, I said. She nodded. Do you know where he is now? No idea, he's good at disappearing. Well, if any new charges show up on your credit, let us know. If he tries to open anything else in your name, we can trace the application. Is that enough to catch him? It helps, she said, but people like your brother, they don't usually stop until they get caught. That stuck with me. 2 days later, I got a call from the fraud department at one of the loan companies. We have some documents we need to verify, the woman on the phone said. She emailed them over. I opened the attachments on my laptop. There it was. A scanned copy of a fake driver's license. My name. My birth date. But not my face. It was Calvin. Older, beard a little longer, hair grown out, but unmistakably him. And the signature. It was mine. I felt sick. Aaron looked over my shoulder and gasped. He made a fake ID. Yeah. Isn't that like really illegal? I hope so. She put her hand on my shoulder. Are you okay? I didn't answer. That night, I went digging through old boxes in the closet. Stuff I hadn't touched since college, tax returns, pay stubs, bank statements. I found a manila folder near the bottom labeled 2008-2012. Inside was a copy of my social security card, my old driver's license, and a W-2 from my first job. All of it would have been easy to swipe back when we lived under the same roof. I remembered something else too. One time in high school, I caught Calvin snooping in my desk drawer, said he was looking for gum. He was building a portfolio. The next day, I took everything I found to Detective Garner. She looked at the fake ID, the loan paperwork, the addresses, and whistled low through her teeth. Well, she said, this helps. Do you think you'll catch him? If he's still using this identity, yes, sooner or later he'll slip up. And if not? She didn't answer. A week passed then too. I got more letters, more notices, all from places I'd never been. One was from a payday lender in Missouri. Another was from a rental car company in Iowa. Apparently, I had failed to return a sedan. Calvin was turning my life into a trail of trash bags. I tried to focus on normal things, work, walking, my wedding planning, but everything felt tainted, like I couldn't trust any part of my past not to be weaponized. Every time my phone buzzed, my stomach clenched. Every letter in the mailbox felt radioactive. And Erin, she tried to be patient, supportive, but I could see the stress in her eyes too, the doubt nibbling at the edges. Are we safe? She asked once. I hope so, I said. It wasn't the answer she wanted. Then one night my phone rang, unknown number, area code from Missouri. I almost let it go to voicemail. But something told me to answer. I put it on speaker. A second of silence, then. Hey, little brother. I froze. Calvin. Yeah. What do you want? A pause. Then I heard you've been digging. You stole my name. I didn't steal it, I borrowed it. You used it to take out loans, you forged my signature, you made a fake ID with my name on it. You're not even pretending this was an accident. He sighed. I was in a bad spot, man. You always are. This was different. No, it was. I was homeless. And now I might be too. Another pause. Then he said, I'm sorry. Not good enough. I'll fix it. How? I've got a plan, just give me a little time. I almost laughed. Time to do what? Screw me over again. No, he said, to make it right. I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to. But I couldn't afford to anymore. Where are you? Does it matter? It does if I report this. You already did. That stopped me cold. How do you know? Mom told me. Of course she did. I'm not going to hide forever, Calvin said, just need a few more weeks. For what? He didn't answer. The line went dead. I didn't sleep that night, not really. I lay there with my eyes open, Aaron breathing quietly beside me, Ramai curled into a warm knot at my feet. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Calvin's face on that fake ID. Not the real one I used to know, but the tired, weathered version stamped onto the government-looking laminate, like he'd stolen my bones and worn them down himself. By sunrise, I was back at the kitchen table, staring at a fresh list: loan companies, disputed charges, phone records. Erin came in, still groggy, pulled a sweatshirt over her head and poured herself coffee before she even looked at me. You're still at it? Yeah. He said he needs time. He always says that. She sat across from me. What if he really means it this time? I looked up. I reported him, Aaron. The police know, the banks know. I can't take it back just because he suddenly wants to talk. I didn't say take it back, I just meant, maybe there's something he's not telling you. I tapped the folder beside me, like a storage unit in Peoria. She blinked. What? New charge came through this morning, a rental unit, paid for with the department store card he opened in my name. How do you know it's his? I showed her the receipt, digital signature, same name, same handwriting from the loan docs. Same damn lie. It was a gray Thursday when I drove down to Peoria. 2.5 hours of flat roads and trucker rest stops. I didn't tell Erin I was going, just texted her once I got there. The storage facility was tucked behind a strip mall next to a vape shop and a closed-down Quiznos. A chain-link fence surrounded the lot. The keypad at the gate was rusted, but still beeped when I entered the access code Calvin had used to make the payment, another thing I found in the transaction details. Unit 214. I parked next to it. My hands were shaking as I stepped out, not from fear, from something else, some combination of rage and dread and something I didn't have a name for yet. The lock was cheap. I brought bolt cutters. Snapped it off in one clean bite. The door rolled up with a clatter. Inside, a mattress on the floor, a duffel bag, 2 trash bags full of clothes, a couple of empty liquor bottles, a box of ramen, and a stack of documents in a milk crate right near the back. I stepped in. My boot landed on a loose photo. Me and Calvin. Maybe 15 years ago. He had his arm around my shoulders. I was holding a trophy. His smile looked real. I picked it up, wiped off the dust. And then I grabbed the crate and walked out. Back home, I laid everything out on the dining table. W-2s, tax forms, fake pay stubs, 3 burner phones, and a laptop that was locked with a 4-digit code. I tried a few combos, birthdays, addresses. It opened with 614. My birthday. The files inside were worse than I expected. A spreadsheet labeled clients. Another one labeled apps in progress. He was running scams. Not just pretending to be me. Pretending to be other people too. Old classmates. Neighbors. There was even a folder called Backup IDs with screenshots of other fake licenses. He built a whole ecosystem. And my name was the one holding up the center. I called Detective Garner. I found something, I said. How did you get it? He left a trail. She met me at the station that afternoon. Took the documents, the phones, the laptop. Scanned through a few files while I sat across from her with my hands folded like a nervous kid. This is good, she said. This is really good. It's more than enough to escalate things. Will it help fix my credit? It'll help us build a case, and if he's arrested, the banks will take that into account. I nodded, but it didn't feel like relief. It felt like I'd just turned in my brother's death sentence. That night, I finally told Aaron everything. Every loan. Every forged doc. Every time I'd covered for him as a kid, and every time I'd been told to be the bigger man. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she asked one question. Do you hate him? I didn't answer right away. Then I said no. She waited. I hate what he turned into. I hate that he used me, but part of me still remembers the guy who helped me cheat on my math tests and snuck me candy before dinner. She leaned her head on my shoulder. We'll get through this, she whispered. But her voice was tired. A few days later, the phone rang again. Same Missouri number. I let it go to voicemail. Then listened to it with my thumb hovering over delete. Hey, it's me. I heard you went to the unit. Look, I'm not mad. I figured you would. Just don't give them the laptop, okay? There's stuff on there that could hurt other people. People who didn't know what I was doing. Just please. Click. No goodbye. No apology. Just damage control. The next morning, I woke up to a knock on the door. It was my dad. His face looked older. Like the lines had set in deeper since the last time I saw him. I heard, he said. I let him in. He sat at the table, looked at the folder still sitting there. I didn't know, he said, about any of this. Mom did. He nodded. She didn't want to believe he'd do it. And you? I didn't want to believe it either. I didn't say anything. He picked up the photo I'd found in the unit. The one with the trophy. That was the science fair, he said quietly. You built that solar oven, he helped you paint it. I remember. He was proud of you. Then why'd he do this? My dad didn't answer. He just put the photo down and left. That night, I got a call from Detective Garner. We have a lead. Where? Kansas City. He tried to use one of the burner phones to buy a bus ticket. You think it's him? We're pretty sure. Are you going to arrest him? We're coordinating with local PD. I didn't sleep again that night. Just lay there, wondering what it would look like if they actually found him. What it would sound like when they read his rights. The next day they did. They found him outside a 24-hour diner, alone, backpack slung over one shoulder, no ID in his wallet, but one of the fake licenses was still in his coat pocket. He didn't run. Didn't fight. Just looked tired. When they booked him, he gave my name. Again. Even then. I was at work when the call came in, midway through fixing a jammed copier, one of those stubborn machines that groans like it's protesting your existence. I nearly ignored the buzzing in my pocket, but something about the caller ID, no caller ID, made me stop. I stepped into the hallway, thumbed the green button. You have a collect call from an inmate at Jackson County Correctional Facility. Press 1 to accept. I stood there staring at the wall across from me, beige paint chipped at the corners, a small smear of something that looked like dried coffee. Then I pressed 1. There was a long pause. Then, hey little brother. His voice was scratchy, like someone had poured gravel into his throat. I didn't say anything. Guess you heard. Still I said nothing. He cleared his throat. I know you're mad. You gave them my name. That was automatic, man. It's just, I've used it so much by now, it comes out without thinking. You used my identity when they arrested you, again. I know I messed up. No, you didn't mess up. You made choices. You forged documents, took out loans, ruined my credit, dragged my name through half the damn Midwest, and even after they cuffed you, you still pretended to be me. I heard him breathing. Then he said, I didn't know how to stop. I let that hang in the air. You could have called, I finally said. Before all this, you could have come clean. I was scared. Of what? That you'd do exactly what you did. You mean hold you accountable? He didn't answer. They gave him one call. He used it on me. I wish I could say it meant something. That it softened something inside me. But all it did was confirm that he hadn't changed, not really. He still saw me as a resource. Not a person. Not a brother. Just an account to draw from. A few days later, I got a letter in the mail. Handwritten, no return address. Inside, a short note. I never wanted it to go this far. I thought I could fix it before you noticed. I'm sorry for all of it. See. There was something about seeing his handwriting that made my throat tighten. Something boyish about the way he still curved his lowercase r like he used to sign birthday cards when we were kids. But there was no real explanation, no full confession, no step-by-step of what he'd done or why. Just a vague apology like he'd spilled a drink. Detective Garner called again the following week. We're preparing formal charges, she said. Fraud, identity theft, forgery, possibly wire fraud depending on what we can pull from the laptop. I asked what would happen next. He'll be arraigned soon. He may qualify for a plea deal, but it's going to be serious. He used your identity to steal over $20,000, not including pending accounts, and he did it in multiple states. What about me? You'll be subpoenaed, she said, as a witness, but you're the victim here. I stared at the ceiling. I don't feel like the victim, I said. I get that, she said, but trust me, you are. Erin came home that night with takeout and tired eyes. I got your favorite, she said, setting down the bag. Egg rolls. She smiled, and the spicy peanut noodles. We ate quietly, the kind of silence that's not cold, just worn in. Halfway through, she looked up. Are you going to testify? I nodded. I have to. She put her fork down. Okay. You think that's wrong? No, she said, I think it's what he earned. The day of the arraignment, I sat in the back of the courtroom. Calvin came in wearing an orange jumpsuit, wrists chained to his waist. He didn't look at me. Didn't look at anyone, really. Just stared at the floor while the charges were read aloud. The judge asked how he pled. His voice was barely audible. Not guilty. I closed my eyes. Afterward, I stepped outside into the sunlight, blinking like I'd just surfaced from underwater. Erin was waiting on the courthouse steps. She squeezed my hand. What now? She asked. I didn't know. Because it wasn't over. The trial was set for 6 weeks out. And in the meantime, I had to keep fighting with banks and credit agencies, trying to explain that the person who opened those accounts wasn't me, even though he knew everything about me. Some of them believed me. Some didn't. One lender told me bluntly, "We've seen cases like this, families trying to weasel out of debt. Sorry, sir, but your name's on the paperwork." That one nearly broke me. Late one night, I found myself looking through old family photos. Me and Calvin at the lake. Halloween costumes. His arm always slung around me like I was his prize. I stared at one picture for a long time, us sitting on the hood of our dad's old truck, eating fast food and laughing. I couldn't remember what we were laughing at. And I couldn't tell anymore if the smile on his face was real. Or just another mask. A week before the trial, Calvin's public defender reached out. Said he wanted to talk. I agreed, reluctantly, to meet in the visitor's room at the jail. He looked thinner. Like jail had taken something from him already. He sat down across from me, didn't speak right away. Then they offered me a deal. What kind? Plead guilty, 5 years, maybe 4 with good behavior. And I'm going to take it. I exhaled slowly. Then he said, I'm sorry. I know. No, I mean it. I thought I was only hurting myself. I didn't realize how much of your life I'd hijacked. You didn't realize, or you didn't care. He looked down. I didn't care enough. I nodded. That's probably the truest thing you've said in years. He didn't argue. Before I left, he said one more thing. When I get out, if I get out, I won't come near you, I promise. Good, I said. Then I hesitated. But if you ever decide to actually change, I mean really change, not charm, not fake it, then maybe one day we can talk. He looked up, surprised. I don't hate you, Calvin, I said, but I can't carry you anymore. He nodded once. That was it. The trial didn't happen. A week before it was scheduled to start, Calvin took the plea deal. 5 years with the possibility of parole in 4. He didn't fight it, didn't try to drag anyone else in. He just signed the papers, stood before the judge, and pled guilty to everything: fraud, identity theft, forgery, wire fraud, misuse of identifying information across state lines. The courtroom was nearly empty, just me, Erin, a clerk, and a bailiff in the back. Calvin didn't look over, he didn't ask me for forgiveness, and I didn't offer it. But there was a strange calm in the room, like the weight of all the lies had finally dropped somewhere it belonged. When it was over, he was led out through the side door, and that was the last time I saw my brother. But court doesn't fix credit. It doesn't erase months of mail that makes your hands shake before you even open it. It doesn't make the banks suddenly believe that you weren't the one who defaulted on 2 personal loans and maxed out a department store card in 4 states. It doesn't make your stomach unclench every time an unfamiliar number calls. It took nearly a year of letters, forms, affidavits, and dispute statements before some of the accounts were closed. Others are still marked in dispute. One agency said it might take another year. Maybe 2. Sometimes I still get rejected when I try to apply for something: a travel card, a store credit line for a fridge, a refinance option. Sometimes I have to explain all over again that someone I used to share bunk beds with, someone I used to pass the remote to without thinking, decided to wear my name like a mask. The wedding was small. Just family, well-selected family. Erin looked like a memory I'd never deserved, walking down that aisle in a simple white dress, eyes locked on mine like nothing else existed. And when we said our vows, when we said for better or worse, I knew we'd already seen some of the worst. Maybe not all of it, but enough to know that we meant what we were saying. My parents came. My mom cried quietly. My dad shook my hand a little too firmly, like he was trying to say something else with the grip. There was an empty seat in the back row. No one mentioned it. I didn't look at it. 3 months later, I got a letter from Calvin. Prison paper, generic pen, neat handwriting like he'd slowed down just to prove he could. No requests this time. I just wanted to say thank you for not showing up to scream at me in court. You had every right to, but you didn't. I know I ruined a lot of things. I know I used you, that I made a choice over and over again to make you smaller so I could pretend to be bigger. The people here don't care who you are, only what you did. It's humbling, and maybe that's good. I don't know who I am without the lies yet. I hope you're doing better. You deserve to be. Tell Ramai I said hi. I didn't write back, but I didn't throw it away either. Sometimes people ask why I didn't just forgive him. Sometimes they ask how I couldn't because he's your brother. But here's what I've learned. Forgiveness without change is just permission. And I had been giving Calvin permission for years to cross boundaries, to borrow without returning, to manipulate through charm, guilt, or that old nostalgia that smells like Saturday cartoons and grape Kool-Aid. He'd been wearing my name like a second skin, and I hadn't noticed until the skin started blistering. What he took from me wasn't just money. It was the security of knowing my identity was my own, the peace of knowing a letter in the mail wouldn't feel like a threat, the trust that my own history wasn't being rewritten without my knowledge. Erin and I bought a house last spring. Nothing big, 2 bedrooms, a little yard, an old tree that creaks in the wind. Ramai barks at the squirrels like she owns the place. The first time I got the keys, I stared at them in my palm and thought, these have my name on them, no one else's. That night, I filed the paperwork for a full legal credit freeze. New passwords, new alerts, new locks on everything. It's not paranoia. It's clarity. People talk about betrayal like it's a sharp, single moment. But sometimes it's slow, quiet, administered over months, a letter here, a call there, a subtle erosion until you start to question your own sanity. I don't hate Calvin. I don't wish him dead. I wish he'd stopped before the second loan, or the third, or the forged ID, or the burner phones, or the time he looked directly into a camera and signed my name like it was his. I wish he had asked for help before he built an entire life around pretending to be me. But wishes don't fix anything. Actions do. And I finally took mine. I still get nervous when the mail arrives. Still pause when I hear the buzz of an unfamiliar number. Still wonder sometimes if there's another account he opened that I haven't found yet. But then I remind myself I faced it. I stood up. I named what happened. And I stopped carrying guilt for someone else's decisions. If this story moved you, subscribe for more real-life confessions and emotional journeys like this one.